Welcome back, class. I'm your professor for today, and in this explainer, we're going to break down the C08 exercises step by step. We want to make sure you can confidently conquer header files, macros, structures, and of course, dynamic memory allocation. So whether you're completely new to custom data types or you just need a quick refresher on memory management, you're exactly in the right place. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
Here's our syllabus for today's explainer. We're looking at a clear, progressive journey, starting with blueprints in exercise 00, moving into magic macros for 01 and 02, grouping data in 03, tackling dynamic arrays in 04, and finishing up with traversing data in exercise 05. All right, let's get started. Section 1, Blueprints, C header files, which is exercise 00. So let's dive right into understanding the foundational blueprints of C programming, which is the stdio header file. You can kind of think of a header file like a restaurant menu, right? It tells your other code exactly what functions are available to order without actually needing to show you the kitchen's secret recipe, or, the actual C implementation. It's basically a promise to the compiler that these functions definitely exist somewhere else in your project. Now, for this first exercise, you don't actually need to write the C code that makes these functions work. All you have to do is write these 5 exact function declarations into your file. You're literally just setting up the menu here: putchar, swap, putstir, string length, and string compare. And really, that's the whole shebang. But hey, here's a super crucial pro tip for you. Always wrap your prototypes in standard header guards. If you forget to use your hash define, and #if macros, your compiler is going to throw a huge fit and give you an error if the file gets included more than once in a larger program. It's just a simple habit, but trust me, it's going to save you hours of debugging later on. Moving on to Section 2, Magic Macros and Types, covering exercises 01 and 02. All right, so we're stepping things up to preprocessor directives here, learning how to define custom types and macros that'll make our code infinitely more readable. In exercise 01, you're given a specific main function to compile, but it's missing some pieces. To make it actually work, you've got to define these specific custom elements inside your ft.h file. You'll need a custom Boolean type, which you usually do with a typedef int or an enum, along with macros for true as 1 and false as 0. You're also going to need an even macro that uses the modulo operator to check if a number is divisible by 2, plus some specific string messages for even and odd, and a success macro that returns 0. Basically, it's all about defining the vocabulary your program's going to use. Now in exercise 02, things get a little bit more clever. You'll be creating an absolute value macro using a ternary operator. And honestly, this is just a brilliant, super compact way to flip a negative number into a positive one. The logic is actually pretty simple. You're essentially asking a question: is the value less than 0? If yes, evaluate to negative value to flip it. If no, just evaluate to the value as is. But listen up, because here is a massive gotcha that trips up so many students. Operator precedence. Because macros are literal text replacements that happen before compilation, if you don't wrap your macro arguments, like that value we just talked about, in parentheses, passing a complex equation into your macro could completely break the math. Seriously, always wrap those parameters up safely in parentheses. All right, Section 3, Grouping Data with Structs for exercise 03. It's time to say goodbye to floating, disconnected variables. A struct is essentially a custom data container that you design yourself. So instead of having a completely separate integer for every little thing in your code, a struct allows you to bundle related variables together under one single logical name. And when we combine that with the typedef keyword, we give that custom container a really clean, easy-to-use alias. Your specific job in ft.h is to define the t-point structure. It needs at least 2 integer variables, an x and a y. If you define this structure correctly, the provided test code will be able to perfectly map the values 42 and 21 to these exact fields using pointers. It's kind of like building a custom coordinate system just for your program. Section 4, the boss, dynamic arrays in exercise 04. Okay, take a deep breath, class, because exercise 04 is our boss fight for this explainer, dynamically allocating an array of structures using malloc. You're going to be working with a new structure called s_stock struct. You need to take standard string arguments, like what you get straight from the command line, and transform each one into this exact structure.
So for every single string, you have to populate its length into the size field, keep a pointer to the original string in the struct field, and here's the really tricky part: create a fresh, dynamically allocated duplicate of the string to store and copy.
I know it sounds like a lot, so let's break this complex algorithm down step by step so you don't get lost. Step 1, you calculate the total size required for the main array, which is your argument count plus 1. Step 2, you allocate that array of structures using malloc. Step 3, you loop through the arguments to populate the size, the original string pointer, and malloc the copy. And finally, step 4, which is absolutely critical, you set the very last element's strip field to 0, which is null. This step definitively terminates the array. And hey, this brings us to another huge tip. Always safeguard your malloc calls. I really cannot stress this enough, you guys. Never blindly trust your memory allocation. Always, always check if malloc fails. If it does, your program needs to catch it and return a null pointer. Memory isn't infinite, and your code absolutely needs to respect that. Section 5, Traversing and Showing Work, which brings us to Exercise 05. Finally, we get to prove that our dynamically allocated array actually works by traversing it and printing the contents to the screen. But I've got a bit of a puzzle for you to solve here. The function only receives the array pointer, not the size. It doesn't receive an integer telling it how many idles are in the array at all. So how do we know when the array ends so we can stop our loop? Think back to the boss fight we just completed.
You guessed it, we rely on the null terminator rule. This is exactly where that extra +1 space we allocated in exercise 04 saves the day. We simply loop through the array until we hit that null terminator we intentionally left at the very end. By checking if the current structure's str pointer is equal to 0, we know precisely when to stop.
So inside your loop, for every valid structure, you'll use the allowedWrite function to display 3 things: the original string, the size, and the copy, with each one followed by a new line. But keep in mind, you can't just print an integer directly to the screen using write. You actually have to implement a custom routine to convert that integer size into printable characters, very much like a standard put-in-br function. And just like that, C08 is fully decoded. We've gone from the simplest function menus and header files all the way to manually managing memory for dynamic arrays of custom structures. The blueprints are clear, the structures are built, and the logic is fully mapped out. So the only question left is, are you ready to fire up your compiler, apply these tips, and conquer C08? Good luck out there, class, and happy coding.